Greetings, guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette, and this is my channel, Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here, I'm a professional intuitive empath, and tonight the download was about Scorpios. And I've taught several lessons about Scorpios throughout the years, but I have a real clarity about it as I had a battle with a Scorpio, and it really got me into understanding where Scorpio fell in my chart, how to combat it, because it was a really insidious and dark thing. It was never spoken out loud, and yet it affected my life, and it affected someone that passed away's life, because Scorpio rules death. And so the person that was very lower vibrational caused many deaths in many ways in the person that died's life too, including their actual demise emotionally, socially, spiritually, etc. And for a while, I was in the trenches of wanting to save that person until I realized how in cahoots they were with that scorpionic energy. And my angel said, "We're going to have you put this down for a little while because my emotionality was high, as it will be when you get into any situation where someone that you've cared about is dying before your eyes. And you may feel like a vigilante, and you may feel like you want to kind of take somebody and shake them by the shoulders and say, hey, wake up. But what my angel said is that what you need to understand is that no one wakes up when they're under the thrall or under the spell of a lower vibrational, unevolved scorpionic energy. And the level of obsession is something that you can't comprehend. And they said, except you can. And so that's when they started to walk me through where Scorpio was in my chart and how I could utilize it for my greatest success, how it could be for my detriment, and how to understand what happened in that situation. That's when I cared. I no longer have any emotional attachment to what happened, because sometimes people come in to cause deaths in your life to ascend you to the next level of your life. You're not supposed to stay where you are in every relationship for eternity, because you won't grow. And even the person that experienced the many deaths, gosh, a mini death, oh gosh, that's so Freudian. A mini death is what an orgasm is called, guys. It's called the mini death, and there's a fancier foreign word for it, but that is one of the ways that Scorpios kind of sting you with their magic. If you are sexual with a Scorpio who is lower vibrational, that orgasm becomes very addictive for you, because Scorpio sex, that's a part of your soul that is very deeply known, the underworld that rules our sexuality. They're ruled by the Sacral Chakra, which is the color orange and associated with sex. Even if they don't know how to harness it, they're very powerful in that respect. So I have videos up here. I'm like, what to expect when the karmic's a Scorpio, and I just advise to walk away, because yes, a person may wake up one day and realize that they were quote unquote your person, that you guys had a connection. But by the time a lower vibrational Scorpio, especially if they have sexual activity with the person that you've cared about, has gotten done, like essentially drying their body out like a dry husk, like literally injecting themselves in and sucking everything out, you will not only not recognize them, you will not want them, nor will you be attracted to them. And to stay in the trenches in a battle with that Scorpio is their delight, because a debilitated scorpionic energy relishes a non-seen, they rule hidden enemies fight. They love it. And they're good at it, because you will never, not only will you not see them coming, but they'll be wreaking havoc in the background. And, and you'll feel like, I'm the one on the run here, and you don't understand how you got there. When I took my power back from that situation, I just divested, because then it wasn't any more fun. Then that Scorpio, even with their obsession, and I'm going to read to you some information notes that I've taken here so that you can understand it more deeply, but even in their obsession, will lose interest in their object of obsession, and they will transfer to somebody else. A famous Scorpio that we're known for seeing, or that we're used to seeing, is Sean Puffy Combs, P. Diddy. P. Diddy is a Scorpio. If you pay attention to his love life, he empties out women and their husk, women and allegedly men too. But what I will tell you about this is that at first he enchants you. And I recently was watching a short clip of the game, who was a rapper, talk about how for 2 years Diddy took him shopping and did everything for him, and they were on jets, but he wasn't helping his career whatsoever. In fact, the game had to go to Dr. Dre out of California in order to actually get his music career going. Diddy is renowned also for killing music careers, so that's a whole nother story for another video. But what I will tell you is that's how Diddy pulls in people with scorpionic energy that's low, obsession, materialism. Scorpionic energy rules other people's money, it rules taxes, it rules on finances in various ways, but that in dark ways, inheritances and things of that nature. Not that an inheritance is dark, actually, but it just means that, that there is a part there. I know that this is part of his pull because we heard another video with 50 Cent, another rapper. 50 Cent's the one who got the game over away, I think, from Diddy. And they were at somebody's funeral, ironically. And 50 Cent said that Diddy was like, "When are you going to let me take you shopping?" That Sean Puffy Combs said to 50 Cent, who we all know, who is a mogul and a producer and all that stuff now, and also started off as a rapper. You saw him most recently at the Super Bowl hanging upside down, if you guys remember. You can find me in the club, bottle full of stuff. I got the magic stick. Baby, if I could hit once, I could hit twice. So that's scorpionic energy too. Even though it's coming from 50, that's the energy with the magic stick, specifically with scorpionic energy. But let's talk about that. And it doesn't mean that all Scorpio energy is good and bad. In their highest vibration, Scorpio energy is fantastic regarding family, really. That's their really thing. People, they rule the genitals. So this is another area where you get got if you're with a lower vibrational Scorpio. STDs and various things like that will happen a lot. To a high degree, they also rule prostitution, secret ways that people make money. It's very interesting. So I got to understand fully the person that died and the person that person had given their power away to. And I was like, oh, I understand exactly what you guys do and who you are fully. But I also am psychic, guys, so I got real premonitions, downloads, and dreams. It wasn't just like some study notes. But I have study notes for you because not all of you guys will have the misfortune of going up against someone like that. And it's so funny because this person was to me a peasant. And I know that sounds really funny to say. I have another video coming up. They wanted you to consort with peasants and then were confused when you walked away. Divine Feminine, that's a whole message, okay? Don't ever your worth and your value. People will gaslight you and try to get you to deny your own worth and your value and get you to see that it's okay for you to say, these people are not like me, because we become like the people we hang around the most. The 5 people we hang around the most, we become like. And so if you're not strong, someone will bring down your vibration. If you are strong, you will raise other people to start to emulate you, be like you, or grow like you, and you guys will grow off of each other and then ascend and ascend. If they're lower vibrational, you will descend and descend. Scorpionic energy rules descension. Back to 50 and back to Diddy and back to the denial. 50 said, "Are you crazy? What are you trying to do with me?" Because 50 associated someone taking him shopping with the way that 50 Cent would treat a woman, like, "I'll take you shopping." So he thought wisely that Diddy, he said it all without saying so much, but he thought wisely, is Diddy trying to seduce me? Which is exactly what Scorpio rules, is seduction. One of the stories that's talked about with Diddy very often from Russell Brand, who has a fantastic channel here on YouTube, who was a comedian married to Katy Perry back in the day and now has a beautiful life and wife out on the countryside in England. But he has a booming channel about politics in various ways, but not on the way you think. And I love Russell Brand. I could listen to him talk all day. A very verbose Gemini, if ever there was one. But what I will tell you is that Russell Brand talks about being on flights with Diddy and flying around. And this is when he was sober. This is after he got sober. So he actually could see the insanity of the magic and the pull and the seduction of Diddy. And he was like hanging out with all these celebrities, and he had finally gotten sober. He struggles with addiction. And it was the beginning of his sobriety journey. And he was like, I watched how Diddy just spent money and was flying jets, and it was always a party. That's the magic and the thrall and the seduction and the undertows, an undercurrent, if you will, of a lower vibrational Scorpio. It is not something that you easily escape, and it is something that will grab you by the nape of your neck if you're not careful. I said the neck of your nape. It is something that will grab you by the nape of your neck, nape of your neck, and it will literally drag you into the underworld if you are not healthy. Now, a lot of us can withstand that energy, and I was able to withstand the energy. I knew exactly what was happening, and I predicted it. Fortunately, I had my own intuition, and also God helped me here. And now all of you guys will have this bonus or benefit, and that's why I'm here to teach you about it. When you stumble upon this video, you are dealing with someone that has this someplace in their chart, as we have many things in our chart. Not all of us have every sign, but most of us have most of the signs. I just happen to have Scorpio in my chart where it rules. Scorpio rules the eighth house. And I'm going to read to you about the eighth house and help you understand that. But it means that I was able to truly understand what was going on. It means that I was able to discern, and it means that I was living. Well, we all have choices, guys, because I could be just as low vibrational as anybody else. But I decided to live in my Scorpionic truth. And I said, okay, you want to be obsessed with me? And I'm going to turn the obsession back to you. Except my mind, where my moon sign is, my moon is ruled by Taurus. So it is exalted in Taurus. For anybody that does like armchair astrology, you guys understand what I'm saying here. And yes, that means every moon sign or every sign placement can have its good or bad, guys. So no one is perfect and no one is exempt. But Taurus moons are very methodical thinkers, and they're very slow to reaction, and they're observers, and they're wicked smart. They just are. It is what it is. And it means that I had a edge over my enemy in that regard, because where my Scorpio fell in my chart and where my moon fell in my chart, I was like, you want to, you want to, what do they say? You want to run, you want to bomba, you want to G with the big boys. Well, I'm the here, kitty, kitty, here, kitty, kitty. I also happen to be a Leo sun. So I was like, come here. Come here, kitty, kitty. You want to play with this big kitty? You want to play this game? Let me show you how I'll upend everything, and then I'll pour the sunlight in, which Scorpionic energy and a lower vibration hates, and I will burn the retinas out of your eyes with the truth that is so overwhelming and so great you can't deny it, and I will eviscerate you. That's what I had to do. I don't recommend that anybody here has to do it. But see, I used every part of my chart, and that's why I highly recommend you get an astrology reading, or you get a reader that understands how to use astrology. I do astrology readings when I run people's charts when I work with them, so that I can understand better how to service them. Because I read a chart like I read a sheet of music. It just lights up for me. I can read the side reel, the circle that you see when you get an astrology printout and you're like, this means nothing. I know what that means because I've studied the symbology and I get it. And so I did not pull the person's chart that was a Scorpio. I didn't have to. I just had to understand the basic principles that ruled lower vibration Scorpio, and I knew exactly what she was going to do. I could anticipate and predict her moves. I knew when she was going to try me. I knew when she was being grimy. I knew when she was influencing the person that I thought was beside me, but they were not. And I understood also the obsession and the pull away and why it had to happen that way. Again, no love lost now, y'all. Foes turn into, oh, that's interesting. Foes turn into friends. Well, in that case, that Scorpionic energy was a foe to the person that I called a friend. She didn't realize that though, but sometimes we're in bed with the opposition. Sleeping with the enemy is a real thing for a reason. I just decided I was not going to get involved with them. I wasn't going to get pulled into their polyamory. That also is ruled by Scorpio energy, polygamous relationships, all that stuff, third parties, all of that is ruled by Scorpio. All the worst stuff that ever happens in our relationship lives, believe it or not. Now, no offense for anybody that's doing polyamory right, but I will tell you it's such a small percentile of people that get it right. And I'm not saying that from conjecture. I'm saying it because I counsel people all over the world. And trust me, the statistics are low. Okay, guys? I will say this, and no, I'm not recommending it. People have a better chance of having a quiet long-term affair than they ever have with polyamory, because it takes a strong stomach to not deal with the jealousy, which is also what Scorpio rules, and it's ruled in the 8th house. Now let's get into it and talk about it some, so that you can understand the difference. And here are some of the notes I put why Scorpio is the most obsessive sign. So of all of the zodiacs, Scorpio is probably have the worst reputations. And here's why. Scorpios are very prone to obsessions, especially in a lower vibration. Scorpios are prone to obsessions, period. Can I say that? Drake is a Scorpio. And when he gets fixated on taking down an opponent in a rap battle, we all remember that song, Back to Back. That's when he went after Meek Mill. Now they're friends again. And the same thing with Kanye. Now they're friends again. But when Drake doesn't like you and he fixates on you, he's a beast because he doesn't release. That's the power of Scorpionic energy. In its highest vibration, he can turn that into gold. In the lowest vibration, they brood. and they turn your life into mold, meaning they will cause decay in your life. So listen, Scorpios are very much ruled by the sacral chakra, and the sexual center of the body is that, and as well as the body that rules our subconscious emotions. It can allow for them to be highly creative, a la Drake, intuitive, and in touch with the deep parts of themselves that others wouldn't dare delve into. When the sacral chakra is in balance, so this is when you're dealing with a lower vibrational person, someone who has mental disorders, someone who is not paying attention, the person can be prone to addictions or obsession. This is due to self-esteem issues. Let's talk about that real quick. And the case that I dealt with, because I can only teach you from my experience, the case that I dealt with, the person had very low self-esteem, and she only could suck the other energy of other people around her and cause chaos inside of groups. She was really good for that. She would triangulate people with ease. She's probably one of the best that I've ever seen in it. If she could ever get her shit together, she'd probably be magnificent. And I'm not talking about my person who died. My person who died to me is utterly useless. God bless the dead. Please understand what kind of hell I had to go through with that. We all have our qualms, and even in the afterlife, we work on our forgiveness as we do. But what I will say, she was utterly useless in that situation, and was like just dragged around like a rag doll. It was very interesting to watch, hilarious to watch at times. And only because I will tell you, there was a great betrayal that was heaped upon me. So please understand my verbiage here. I am not just talking about someone badly. They earned everything. But what I will tell you is this: with the Scorpionic energy that I was observing, she would triangulate everybody in the office. She had multiple friend groups. She would purposely be friends with different people that didn't like other people, which we all get triggered by, guys. It's just a way that it is. If we don't feel like someone has our best interests, we're a little concerned about that. And it worked perfectly with the person who in my life passed away. She couldn't make heads or tails of it and played right into the hand of it. But what I will say here about that is the self-esteem issue was the reason that she did that. She had very low self-esteem, and specifically when it came to me, she thought, oh, this will be my easiest opponent, because in her society, she was a Caucasian woman in a southern state, Alabama, that had never been told that she was anything but the prize. She did not understand how I was exalted in the person that she wanted to take, quote unquote, from me's eyes. She didn't get it. She's black, she's fat, I don't understand. She talks funny, she has a hearing handicap. Oh, she made fun of all of those things, because lower vibrational Scorpio will always try to go for the easiest sting. It's almost like watching, when people make fun of people, like we watch one of those presidents do. She also voted for that president, so they had the same energy, and it was true. But what I will tell you, or what she was instructed, which is ironic here, this is a point I want to make. She was instructed by her husband on who to vote to, but around the office and around other women, she wreaked havoc and acted like she was in charge of anything, when she had no power when she got to her home. Does that make sense? She had no power. She could control and manipulate, but she was always bested by someone else that was subscribing to the patriarchy and misogyny. It was very funny to me, the things she could control and she couldn't. But what I will tell you is this: she definitely had issues with self-esteem. And so she thought, for me, direct hit, I won't miss. I'm getting this girl out of the paint, whatever. I will be the nightmare of her life. And it's one of my favorite things, because that's the energy that my placement of Scorpio brings. Okay, unforgettable. That's what we are. That's why you need to empower yourself with understanding your chart. So it didn't work out the way she thought. And maybe it did for a time, but her low self-esteem is why she thought that she could have me be destroyed in life and getting out of the person's life, and whatever the case may be. No one ever thought I was walking away, because that was no fun. If there isn't a play of three, then Scorpio wants to take their ball and go home. And I imagine that happened rather expeditiously, unless she wanted something, because Scorpio has the way, when they're lower vibrational, of luring you back in, even if it doesn't fit. And I'll talk about that here in my notes. Even if it's not a good fit, even if it's toxic, even if it's to your detriment, even if it's destroying you, they'll pull you back in time and time and time again, convincing you that they love you, and they never do. They just want power over you. And I understood that from the get-go. But I watched, and it was a lesson that I needed to know. It was painful, guys. I'm not going to lie to you at first, and then I was like, oh, I get it. I get exactly what this is. But low self-esteem is why a Scorpio energy will come after you the way that they do. If they're not evolved, they will want to destroy you. And she thought, why do you like yourself so much? I'm in my body and in my privilege, and I don't like myself half as much as you do, not even a fraction as you do. Why do people respond the way they do to you? Why is the person that I'm obsessed with you? I must destroy you. That is Scorpionic energy. So In terms of reincarnation, the person with this Scorpio sign, these issues are often due to past life trauma, in which sexuality, control, and perhaps prostitution was a major theme. So when I did a look at her life in other lives, I understood exactly. I won't get into it because she still watches, because that's how Scorpio energy is. They're obsessive. So they will never, like, that's why I said I'm the nightmare of her life, because she wishes she could not be fixated on me. She doesn't even know how to unplug. So I'm not gonna give her any help. She could go figure out why she's so low vibrational for herself. But I will tell you, those are some of the themes that come up. Now, those themes showed up in her life in this time, though. Okay, I took a light look at the past when I was in the thick of the fight and I cared, and I was like, oh, I get it. But then in this life, I was like, I see it here. It makes perfect sense to me. So, prostitution, a major theme. In terms of the present lifetime for Scorpio, feelings of insecurity and enmeshment with parental figures are often the root cause. Codependency with that Scorpio's mother was interesting to me, and I'll leave that there too. Pay attention to that if you've got any lower vibrational Scorpios around you. What kind of enmeshment and codependency do they deal with? Now, prostitution means a lot of things. I want to touch on that. The way that it manifested in her life was actually, but also it was the way that she sold herself and her security to people, the lowest bidders, people that were controlling, abusive, whatever the case may be, because she was operating out of that lower vibrational Scorpio energy. So she married people she didn't love or wasn't sexually attracted to. That wasn't even her sexual preference, because she needed to make sure that she was provided for, and that she had someone to provide for her kiddos that she made with various people. Do you understand? That was the vibe for that Scorpio energy. She was engaging in a sense of prostitution. They're called hobosexuals, where they will sleep with people to make sure that they have a couch or a roof over their head. And they will go after people that are going to purchase things for them. And they will hit you up for your money too, even if they've got a stack in their bank. That's lower vibrational Scorpios ruling other people's money. So sometimes these obsessions can actually be beneficial. When a Scorpio is passionate about someone or something, they can focus a lot of energy onto the object of desire. That's also called love bombing when you're dealing with from a low vibrational Scorpio, whether that is a project, a talent, a skill, or an advocacy group, or another person. It can allow Scorpios to become very successful in terms of working something or somewhere that they're passionate about. And that's where we talk about Drake and other Scorpios that are very good at what they do because they focus their energy there. Scorpios can be extremely seductive and romantic in that way. However, when you decide to leave a Scorpio message, pay attention, guys, they do not take it kindly. They have a tendency to become fixated on their object of desire, obsessively thinking about them and luring them in back over and over again, even if the situation is not a good fit, if it's karmic, if it's debilitated, if it's toxic, if it's obsessive, if it's drug addicted. They get very attached and can have a hard time letting go due to that obsessive nature, which can turn clingy. This is particularly true for people who have their moon in Scorpio, as the moon is what rules our emotions. In my situation, the person that I was dealing with was an actual Sagittarius. And that Sagittarius rules quite literally anything but cling. In a lower vibration, Sagittarius is associated with the Knight of Wands in the tarot, which would be like the F-boy, the player, someone who takes their wand everywhere. But they're going to make you feel like they love them, but they don't really love you. They really want to sleep with you, and that's it. Sagittarius is actually in the tarot for readers. It's kind of our little joke. Sagittarius is in a low vibrational level. It's known as the homewrecker. So they're very good. They have no attachments to anything. They don't care. They have no couth. They say whatever they want to. They take zero accountability for it. That's a lower vibrational Sagittarius. Higher ones are philosophical. They travel the world. I mean, both the energy of both high and low is similar, but it just acts out differently depending on how healthy that Sagittarius is. So they'll be a philosophical world traveler or a teacher or a professor. They delve deep into spiritual realms and all of the rest of it. Sagittarius in a high vibration is fantastic. In a lower vibration, they're a whore. And that's just the basic truth. Whether it's a friend whore, an actual whore in a relationship, an actual whore in any situationship, they're a whore for money, they're a whore for drugs. It's like they literally will just spread their energy to everybody and then cause a whole bunch of wreckage. And a lot of people kind of walking around being like, what just happened? That's lower vibrational Sagittarius energy message for anybody. Literally, as I talk to my fellow readers, we talk about it. They're the homewrecker of the zodiac. And you'll hear it if you watch a lot of tarot. They will say that, well, oh my God, the Sagittarius energy, the Knight of Wands, here it comes. Da, da, da. So it's not just my personal opinion, but God, did I get to experience it up close and personal. And so what I will tell you is that when these two got together, it was a recipe for disaster. It was kind of interesting to watch. It was a really cool case study that I got to do. Now that I don't feel anyways about like the loss of it, I feel like, that was really cool. My angels walked me through a master class of fuckery with these two people that were wild as the Taliban. And it was just interesting to see how they destroyed each other. But I knew who would win always. In fact, I watched her specifically. It wasn't the person that I knew or that knew me. It was a person that never met me in their life, that only talked to me one time, and that was siphoning energy through that person. My energy. They were siphoning my energy through the person that stood in between us. And the person in between us became a husk for both of us. She no longer mattered for both of us. I think that we both extracted the lessons that we needed from her and found her utterly useless in the end. I'm sure that the Scorpio person will use her until she can't use her anymore again and again. But I learned lessons quickly. And I was like, I don't have to beat my head against the wall. That's another trait message for lower vibrational Sagittarius is they'll run into a brick wall over and over again. It could be a bloody head. It could be bleeding into their eyes, and they could not be able to breathe, and they're still running into that brick wall. They don't learn lessons. I don't know why that's a thing for them, but they don't. Because they're very lucky, they usually get away with stuff for a long time, and then the universe will like flip it, first half, second half, and it'll say, okay, let's do a rewind. What have you learned or not learned? And if you can't learn, then you're going to keep running into this brick wall, I guess, until you bash your cranium completely in. I didn't know, and I didn't stick around to find out, but I was just like, this is fascinating to watch. So that's what you need to know regarding that. So, some of the notes that I took here is about the show You. And I was researching, and another researcher made this same thing. And I'll take a snapshot of what she said. This is a quote. She said, "When I watched the Netflix show You, I immediately thought that the main character, Joe, must be a Scorpio due to his obsessive nature. Penn Badgley, the actor who plays him, is a Scorpio, and he certainly fits the part well with his dark and brooding persona. When speculating Joe's zodiac sign online, Badgley himself tweeted, if we start profiling killers based on their natal astrology, we are at a level of superstition equal to witch hunting, though, right? I suppose it would at least fall on the backs of men. He's a Scorpio. Manson was a Scorpio." Do you guys get it? This is out of the actor's mouth who played Joe on You. If you guys can see it, fan freaking tastic. It's on Netflix. Go watch it. Binge it all. It's all there. And it's brilliant. Anyway, the first couple seasons, especially so. It was like, oh, so sexy. Isn't that interesting? He actually went on talk show circuits where he talked about Joe is a serial killer. Stop lusting after him. Because in real life, women are watching the show on Netflix and they're like, oh my God, Penn Badgley's so sexy. Why did we like that? Let's talk about our psychology, as fucked up as it may be. The reason we were attracted to that is because Penn Badgley in that show represents what we want or what we think we want in a relationship. He's a love bomber if ever there was one. The way that he fixates, studies, and stalks his prey that he eventually kills is so intense and so primal that we're all like, God, I want Penn Badgley to be my person. I want Joe to be my person. Every woman I had conversations with that was watching it was like, I know I'm not supposed to like him, girl, but I like him. And it was crazy. And that's the enchantment of lower vibrational Scorpio. They will suck you in just to kill you. And here's what you need to understand. Even if they're not an actual serial killer, Scorpio rules death. Something in your life will change. Something in your life will go left. Addictions will come up. Sexual practices that you hadn't even thought about will come to the surface, or you'll be tempted or tested with. Let me go back to Diddy. Diddy is renowned for having multiple women and men, allegedly. And what he does is he like is proficient in third parties. When Cassie divested from him and then immediately got married to a real man, had a baby and a family, and I was so happy for her, she was a shell of herself. And she talks about where women talk about having Cassie call them and say, so you're seeing him now? She no longer was herself, where that would not be acceptable. She had resigned herself to accept that this was his behavior, that he was going to have orgies and wild parties allegedly and all of that stuff. And so she decided to get herself unstuck, but it is difficult to get yourself unstuck from a Scorpionic energy. Kim Porter, who was, as Diddy proclaimed, the love of his life while he was in a relationship, I believe, with Cassie, died. And she never got out from under the thrall of Diddy. She never really moved on with her life. Diddy was always somehow her person, even though he had many other people. That is lower vibrational Scorpio energy. And that's factual. You guys can go research that. So what I'd like to say here is it is not the truth that every Scorpio is going to be a serial killer. Clearly, there are Scorpios here listening. You guys are not serial killers because they're very loving and family oriented. I have a cousin who I just freaking adore, and he's a Scorpio man, and he's the sweetest sweetheart I've ever seen with the women, with the women, folk in our family, from the children to the adults. He is a sweetheart. I have never met a better Scorpionic energy. But after my battle with this lower vibrational Scorpio, I quite literally prayed to have good Scorpios come in because I didn't want to hate all Scorpios because I had one who was of such a racist lower vibration. And my God, everybody I know now that are some of my favorite people are Scorpios. So I truly healed that. I purposely like sought that out energetically and manifested it to me. So from my therapist and my favorite cousin to I could go on and on are Scorpio women or men that like literally bless my energy. Some of the best people in my life. So I'm coming to you out of a healthy place, guys, but I know what it is to fight one that is absolutely toxic and bullshit, low vibrational, has no self-esteem. Those are the most vicious kind. They are more than mean. They are demonic. And that's the truth. So it's understand. It's what here's what you need to understand. While some can be loving, like my family man cousin, the harm that they can do when they're in a lower vibrational is typically due to the depth of their emotions as a water sign, but they do have this obsessive tendency about them. When a Scorpio knows how to channel the energy effectively, for instance, I took some notes here, like Drake, Katy Perry, Joaquin Phoenix, they can prove very successful and hardworking when it comes to going after what they truly desire creatively. They have to learn how to get over their fears and self-esteem issues, or at least put them aside in order to do that. That's what you need to know about that. Let's talk about the 8th house and Scorpio so that I give you a full overview in this. So when you're dealing with 8th house, it's ruled by Scorpio, which is ruled by the planet of Pluto. And Pluto is still a planet in astrology, so we still acknowledge it. But Pluto is erratic. It's erratic, and it causes craziness in your life. The 8th house is a mysterious sector, and it rules birth, death, sex, transformation, mysteries, merged energies. Okay, so that's when you get a codependent relationship. There was a intervention show that I watched where there was 2 Scorpios that were both on heroin, one of the most toxic episodes I've ever seen, and they talked about it because they were very into their signs. And I remember watching it like I've never seen this level of depravity. Merged codependency, and you top it with addiction, and you top it with a dollop of heroin. It meant for madness, and it was something that could have been turned into a movie. It was one of the most captivating, enthralling episodes I'd ever seen, and it was one of the most devastating. So, merged energies and bonding at the deepest level. The 8th house also rules other people's property and money, including real estate, inheritances, and investments. And traditionally, it has been called the house of sex, death, and taxes. I want to go back to something here. Merged energies and bonding at the deepest level. When I'm recommending that if the karmic that you're dealing with or the third party that you're dealing with is a Scorpio and I say walk away, this is why I say walk away. I realized that no matter how much I thought I had quote unquote bonded with my quote unquote person that is that has passed away now, no matter how much I had bonded with that person, no matter how much I thought we shared, no matter how deep my psychic gifts allowed me to dive into her inner sphere, I did not know her as well as the person that she merged with, because that is what Scorpio does. Now, I will say that while both of them for me were useless, and I don't think that the Scorpionic energy, because she doesn't have self-esteem and she isn't really intelligent, she's just primal. That's what I realized. I was like, oh, I'll fight her with wits when I cared. And then my angels are like, what wits? They aren't there for her. She's not intelligent. She's just operating primally. And she's not afraid to go as low as she can be, which is something you won't do because you do have integrity about you. Like, I know how low I can go and I know how ugly I can be. I know how to hurt someone's feelings, and I just wouldn't engage with her. I know how to be conniving and manipulative, just like all of us do. But I wouldn't do it because I'm not called to. That's not my jam. But what it did do was it got me to explore the fact that I can be that part of the I am, where it is in my chart. And that's why I'm grateful for her, actually. I mean, guys, message, thank your enemy, because they show you something about yourself that you would have never known. The relationship that I had with the Sagittarius was never going to grow. And it was dead on the vine anyway. It took a Scorpio to come along and show me why I need to cut it away. And it was because, I will tell you this, they merged in a way that I was never going to merge with her. And it wasn't about sexuality. I'd had sex with that Sagittarius. It wasn't about that. It wasn't about friendship. I had a friendship with that Sagittarius. It wasn't about that. It was about the way that they meshed with one another through their addictions, their lower vibrations, their toxicity, the dark underworld of their sexuality. That was never going to be me. And that was never going to be satisfying for the Sagittarius person that passed away. She needed to play in that realm in order to understand some things about herself. And a Scorpio will take you there without a care because that's where they live. They love it. You know, they say if you want to wrestle with pigs, don't wrestle with them because they love the mud and they love to be dirty. That Scorpionic energy loved to be dirty and then turn things. She was crafty, but not smart. And that's why I was like, this is not for me. And I lose heart here because I like to deal with people intelligently. And there was no intelligence to be found between the two. It was just a lot of gyrating and drugs and lower vibrational stuff that I just wouldn't do. And it was a lot of mixing of energies and bodies and people and schemes and scams and all that rules lower vibrational Scorpio. You understand? And the eighth house specifically. While it's in my chart, I understand it. And you know what that means for me? I have a great CPA because I know it rules taxes. You know what it means for me? Friendships fall away very quickly. This is what happens when you have Scorpio in the eighth chart. I will have a friend and it could be magical and then they're taken out of my life for whatever reason. It's happened over and over again. And you know why? Because the lesson for me on the higher vibration was to learn how to accept death in any situation. Last year, I almost died. I had to accept death. I faced it right in the face. I faced the depression of it. I faced my own suicidal thoughts. I faced the idea that what was my purpose here, and I had to look it right in its face and come back from the brink of that. That's where Scorpionic energy took me, but it had nothing to do with those two crazy people. That was God working with me separately and privately. But before that, a few years ago, I had a relationship die that I prized very much, that I prize, I being the operative word. You need reciprocity, guys, and that's something else I learned, and it needed to die. There was no reciprocal energy. That person thought they were the prize, not me, and now I have a bestie who we both are ridiculously infatuated with each other, but also loving each other. It's not just infatuation. It's not just emerging obsession like I witnessed. This is actual boundaries and actual connection. And that's why that other situation had to die. So that Scorpionic energy that came into my life, lower vibrational as she was exactly what I needed at the time. She was the right medicine, and the medicine was death. And post-mortem, I rose again as it is shown by the word. It's not all about just an actual resurrection. It's about a spiritual one too, even if it seems absurd. I rose again on the third day. Amen. Literally at Easter several years ago is where I was like, all right, this is enough. This is enough of mourning for people that were just a lesson in my life. Also, message, my empaths and my light workers, you will have people come into your life that are literally agents in the game that are sent to destroy you. They are not your friends. They don't care about you. They're not thinking about you. The devil jumps into their little body, soul, their meat suit, and points them in your direction and says, this one has something great to do. See if you can go fuck them up. See if you can get them off track. See if you can get them to quote unquote fuck. Let me get that into your head, guys. Quote unquote. Sex with F-boys and lower vibrational people that are ruled by the Scorpionic energy will always lead you to a death. It's not about them being sexually attracted to you. It's about them siphoning energy from you. Think about a succubus. It's about them literally getting in your energetic field because to them, we're delicious. To people that are lower vibrational, demonic, minion souls, we are what they want to conquer. We're what they want to know because it's the only time they get to the light. And even though they hate the light, they love sucking from it because it ups their intelligence level a little bit. The smartest she might have ever been was in proximity to me, guys. And I know that sounds really haughty, but it's the truth. It's the real truth because she started to study me and watch my videos. She actually raised her vibration. I remember one thing that the Sagittarius relayed to me. She said, you know, it's so funny. She watches your videos with her kids and she says that her youngest kid just absolutely is enchanted by you. Now, let me break that down just for anybody here, just for a little talking point. They're in the South. Let's talk about the ancestry here. It is renowned and known that Black women raise many white women's children in the South. It is a thing. If that offends you, you just look at the books. It's the truth. So mammy is the mammy archetype here. So Black women have raised many white children. I was also a preschool teacher in the South in Alabama, and those kids of all colors love me, and that has nothing to do with the kids. But the reason that her little son would sit and stare at that screen is one, because I was probably the most nurturing thing he'd ever seen, and two, kids can tell a pure soul. He was enchanted for a reason. It doesn't mean that I'm perfect, but it means that I operate out of an energy that his mother didn't, and he was enthralled. And also, ironically, message, it was my way and the God's way truly of getting a little goodness into him, because he was around nothing but sin and debauchery. So God bless that little kid who's growing up. I mean, you can only protect kids for so long, and he's no longer, I imagine, watching me, unless his mother still is, which she is. I don't know if she watches me with him anymore, but I remember her saying, he just keeps watching her, and he can't look away from the screen, because I'm the first mothering thing he's ever seen. And that's the fucking truth, guys. So it was so funny to me without kids was mothering someone else's child, and I was mothering her too. But that's because she was watching, and she was trying to figure out what my next move was, and how to talk about me, and how to create all this havoc from behind the scenes. That's lower vibrational Scorpionic energy. She was obsessed with me. That's another part that I thought was really funny. I didn't realize that Sagittarius didn't realize that. She was like, no, that we're in love. I was like, you are in love? That's fascinating. No, she's in love with obsession, and that's who she is, because she's never grown her self-esteem, and she finds me to be quite the anomaly, because I don't fit in her world to like myself the way I do, and for other people to like me too. It makes no sense. It does not compute. Maybe it's computing now. Let's carry on. So I moved away because of their merging, because I understood that they will share things that I never would share with her, nor would I want to, and that was her boo. I was like, I'm in the middle of y'all's love story. I'll excuse myself expeditiously and immediately, because I wanted my own with someone who cared about me too, and then I manifested it. You guys get it? Let's carry on. Houses in astrology. So there are 12 signs, and each one, and each part is a part of the wheel, and it's called a house. So at any moment you're born, the planets are all in specific signs and houses, and we all have a snapshot. So let's take a look. The eighth house is one of the hidden mysteries, the biggest of which is the final transformation, which is death. So we are always wondering what's going to come next. I think of Betty White and her mother saying, the people that are dead are interesting to me because they know what the secret is. They know the mystery. So this house is where you find intense emotional wells, the secrets of the soul that unfold over a lifetime. Often we fear what lies in the eighth house, partly because of its power to end our old way of being. That's why intrinsically I was immediately worried. I knew immediately that this person was a threat to something for me. I didn't understand how she was going to alter the life of my destiny in the best ways. She caused a death in my life and showed me that I had a friend that would easily betray me for nothing, for shekels, for nothing. And I didn't understand it because as a Leo sun, I thrive on loyalty. So I was like, why would you do this to me? I didn't understand it. And I was perplexed and I was hurt, and all the real emotions that you go through, as you guys can hear, that's not here anymore. I just am looking at it anthropologically. That was fascinating. But she caused it for me, and I knew it. I predicted it, and I knew it would come true, and I knew how it would play out. But there was nothing I could do, because that was a lesson for the other person. It wasn't really about me. And in the way that it was about me, with the eighth house in my Scorpionic energy, it was to finally release attachment to people. People come and go in your life, and now I finally get that. There is no clinging, which is funny. The Sagittarius thought I was clingy until God showed her, let me show you real clingy, real quick, and I'll put you with this Scorpionic bitch, and then you will know for real what a cling master really is, and how she'll mind fuck you, and how she'll play games with you. I was none of those things, and she needed those lessons because she manifested someone that was like her too. Message. We manifest alike, my boos. So if someone is around you, it doesn't mean with a narcissist and empath dynamic that you're like the narcissist. But when you find good friend groups that are healthy, that's when you're manifesting at a higher vibration. In the lower vibration, whatever thing you think about yourself can be mirrored. And the narcissist is even there to teach you about that. You have to raise your self-esteem, you have to get well, and then you have to detach, right? So that's what you need to know about that. So the house is where you find the intense emotional wells of secrets of the soul that unfold over a lifetime. Often we fear what lies in the eighth house, partly because of its power to end our old way of being. My old way of being was ended completely. I could not be more grateful for it. I changed my life. My money got better. My life got better. My weight got better. My health got better. Even though I battled with my health last year, everything changed for the better. And I'm still here when I was at the brink of death. It was one of the best things that ever happened to me, was having that betrayal. It started a catalyst, a domino effect that changed everything. But I was terrified because we are scared of change. And I wanted to hold on to something that was not supposed to remain. Never was that supposed to be in my life. I don't deserve that. We are good people and we work, and I pour into my energy, into the community, and into the world at large. And quite literally, that's my job every day. So I didn't deserve to have that kind of pain, and neither do you. So if you're in a situation like that, know what's true. That's just a storm for a time. That's not the way you'll live your life. You will end up out of it and you will be fine. I speak that over you. And so it is. The eighth house involves the soul level change we go through in a lifetime. Your many deaths of transformation are colored by the sign on the cusp and planetary action here. Critical turning points in your life mark the old you and the new you. That's the kind of change that this house represents. Compulsion, obsessions, primal entanglements. These all require serious grappling with the core to untangle. The eighth house concerns those life issues that we are often at the mercy of, that feel fated and therefore hard to resolve. This is also why I walked away. For me, this is exactly that last sentence I read. Primal entanglement. Come on, y'all. Come on for that word. Primal entanglement. That's what I watched those two have. But it's also what I had with the Sagittarius. And I knew that in order to be better, I would have to divest. And I didn't want to. My human self, my attached self, my Leo who loves a friendship to last a lifetime self, did not want to detach from that person, even though they treated me like shit, didn't value me, didn't respect me, lied on me, gossiped on me, stole from me. They were a piece of shit. And I still was holding on. Message, can any of you guys relate? And it was a primal entanglement for me. And my angels said, we want you to see how you have been behaving pathetically. Yep, your angels hold you accountable. And they said, we're going to let you watch their relationship and see how pathetic it is, and realize that that was once you. Except you're now the Sagittarius, meaning you were the Sagittarius, and the Sagittarius is now the Scorpio. Let me explain that. We switched roles. So I became what the Sagittarius thought she was, which, detached and all the rest of it, right? But the truth was, the Scorpionic energy that was in her life was really her. A player, a liar, a manipulator, low vibrational, no self-esteem, a triangulator, a deceiver, shady, dirty, all of those things, right? And I was, and in that situation at first, the Sagittarius would represent a level of purity, some mischievous energy there. I'm tempted to touch. I want to see what's here. And we switched. So I became the person observing how I used to be and how weak I was for the Sagittarius and how much I loved that person, how much I gave away my power to that person. And I watched you do the same thing for someone else. And you may say, well, that seems like horrible. Why would you want to watch someone else fall in love and be primarily entangled? It was probably one of the best things that happened to me. And it was actually fun to watch, to be honest, because it was a little bit of karma too. I was like, boop, 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 boop. Some people want to be the people to serve karma. I had no skin in the game for that. I was like, okay, I'm not going to be the one that serves her karma. It was so funny. She was accusing me and pretending it was me. No, girl, it's not me. Your karma's coming from that Scorpio energy that you had to have. It's not me at all. She will keep you down bad. She will actually show you what it is to feel horrible about yourself, and she will strip away everything that you loved in your life and cause deaths in every single way, and you'll lose your respect in your mind. And I was like, that's what you wanted to do, and that's how you wanted to play. But I understand, because I've been there too, with someone playing with me, except it was you. You see? It was a full circle moment. I had to deal with my primal entanglement. And I'll never have it again. There will never be an enmeshment of that level in my life, which is great for me. Now I have a lot of people in my life and fantastic somebodies, but I understand people come and go and they have a lesson. And if they stop by and they say hi, I'm so happy to see them. I've learned that specifically here on my channel. People come and go and it's wonderful. But I had to get to that point where I wasn't like upset about that. And that happened when I was in that spiritual attack, that I finally was like, I'll never be attached to anyone or anything again. I expect nothing from anybody. With friendship, even my bestie, she and I have very open conversations about, you know what, you will move on into other things energetically at some point, or you may feel called more strongly to a new thing in your life, and that's okay. We will have to be fine, because God will bring in new people into our life to fill the spaces. That was never a conversation. It was very cling master 10,000 for me and that ex-person. And I learned such a powerful lesson that you cannot cling to a thing, but that was because a Scorpionic energy came in and taught me, oh, you want to cling? Let's make this as difficult as possible. So dealing with, and the part that I thought, pardon me, guys, the part that I thought was specifically fascinating was the part about the eighth house is concerns of life issues that we're often at the mercy of and feel that are fated and therefore hard to resolve. The reason that those two couldn't extract themselves from one another because my the person that I used to know that passed away wasn't good at solving puzzles at all. Not even at all. She was just lazy. She was mentally lazy. And so I solved the puzzles for her. Message, can you guys relate to relate to being the puzzle solver for your narcissist, whether they were malignant or covert? And so when I realized what she was doing and how she was trying to treat me, I was like, girl, you'll solve this puzzle expeditiously by yourself. I'm not dealing with you at all. So I knew that she would never disentangle herself. It would be something where it would cause her a great fall and a great loss of so many things in her life because she was never going to see, because it was hard for her to resolve. She was like, how do I get out of this? I like the sex, and I like the depravity, and I like the drugs, and I like all of this. But I know she's toxic for me, but I'm going to stay. And stay she did. With sexuality, this house rules this area of sexuality. Achieving an orgasm is also called a little death because it's a surrender to primal energies. Merging with another person in the sex act is a transformation and a release of energy. It's also an attachment. I got to stop here. This is a masterclass about this, guys. Our sex is a spell. If you are called to stop sleeping with a partner, whether it's by accident, whether you're not well, there's a reason you're detaching from them in some form or fashion. There's a reason, and it saved my life, and that's why I'm talking to you about it. With it ruling my eighth house, my secret squirrel level of relationship that I had with that person to a degree was just between her and me. That's where my Scorpionic energy manifested. We had a private long-term connection that she denied and lied about, but it was absolutely there. And I understood that in order to get away from her, I'd have to stop sleeping with her. My angels directed me to, so it wasn't on me. I can't take the credit. But I did stop sleeping with her, and the spell was broken. I was no longer attracted. I no longer felt the pull. I no longer felt any satisfaction. It was very interesting to watch how I looked at her change when I stopped sexualizing her. And we started and stopped letting her play mind games with me. Oh, I let her play the mind games, and I acted like I couldn't see she was doing it, but I knew what was happening the whole time, and I knew that every time she was wrong, that's when she would let her guard down and then be like, oh my God, I've never loved anybody like this so much in my life, and whatever, bullshit, all right? Because that's Sagittarius energy. What I talked about earlier, the Knight of Wands, they are good for that with anybody. They love everybody on the dance floor, okay? So what I will tell you is that stopping the sex changed the dynamic of our relationship. She was pissed about it, but it was healthy for me because I was able to divest properly and I was able to unhook myself and untether myself from the toxicity. It's powerful and it's a spell. Depending on the time frames that we do it, moon times, whether our cycle is coming or just leaving or on or whatever, you're attaching yourself to someone. And I know this because I have practiced sex magic actually with a partner who I was connected with tantrically years ago. It was an Aquarian male who I dated for many years, who was a delight in my life, and he was a soulmate. And he had traveled the world, and he was a polyglot, and he was a magnificent and magical. And he had also spent a lot of time in Africa, even though he was a Scottish sea captain with blue eyes and blonde hair. He was very, as Aquarian energy is known to be, akin to diversity and humanity. So he loved people of all cultures and, like I said, spoke many languages. And he was very familiar with Haitian practices as well as African hoodoo voodoo practices in real life. And it was a time when I was coming into my spirituality. But let me tell you why I'm telling you this story, because this is how Scorpionic energy in the eighth house will manifest. I was open to a lot of what he had to say because it was very sexy to me. It was very interesting to me. And he wanted us to bind ourselves to one another because he was very infatuated with me, as I was him. Y'all, I'm not even going to lie. I'm not even going to hold you. I very much was enthralled with this guy. And we had an unconventional relationship, to say the least. But it was one of the best of my life. But the release was really hard because we practice active sexual magic. Now, there will be people that act like they don't know what this is. When you just have sex with anybody, that is it. That is literally an actual connection. You are binding yourself to that person. That's why we are like, why do I like the F boy? Well, our cervix and our heart chakra are connected. I have videos up here about that. Search it and find it and go listen if you want a concise dissertation on that. But every time someone is like literally thrusting into us, whether it's with their fingers or with their phallus, they are creating an emotional reaction. Or every time someone brings us to orgasm, they're massaging our heart chakra and opening it so that we fall in love. And that's why you will fall in love with someone who is not appropriate for you, who is not well vetted, who is not your actual person. That's why for my empaths listening, I highly recommend dating kind of the old fashioned way for a while before you let them inside, quite literally, because it will change your chemistry, your brain chemistry, and you will become bonded and paired to them, and you will emerge, because Scorpionic energy rules that, right? So with the man that I actually practice sex magic with, and I won't go into the details here. If you're interested, leave a comment below. Maybe I'll make a video about it, what I did specifically. But we bound ourselves to each other, which means that we never separated, even energetically. To this day, this man and I still talk when we feel called to. I am a whole married woman. I will tell you that. It doesn't mean he has any pull over me. I separated the sexual relationship. I moved on. I knew what time it was. I got married. I moved on in my life. But I will tell you is I think of him often and will for the rest of my life. Even when he passes away, he is quite older than me. He will be someone that changed my life tremendously. And I love him. But I know why we stay bonded the way we did, because we actively practice sex magic in various ways on multiple times. It wasn't just like, let's do this one time and see what happens. He was very he became obsessive with me. It was an interesting thing to see, because he set the rules in the beginning of our relationship. But because of the Scorpionic placement in my chart, I was open to that very kind of darker, kind of like, let's see what happens here. And it wasn't any dark magic or anything like that, but it was still purposeful sexual magic. And the reason that even happened and that I was able to do it was because of where Scorpio is in my chart. Know your chart, guys. That is like, I was super Pollyanna, I was super like love and light. And then he brought this to me one night and he was like, hey, you're my person, you're my soulmate, and I never want us to be separated. Have you ever thought about it? I never even heard about it, guys. But because I loved him and I was like, this is interesting, and it didn't seem demonic to me, we did it and it worked. Fortunately or unfortunately, you got to be so careful who you practice sex magic with. You can practice sex magic with your spouse. You can practice sex magic with a partner actively, which is just creating sexually. This is one of the ways, just a quick message, thinking about what you want to manifest when you orgasm at the same time. That's sex magic, okay? So it's not anything like sinister or whatever, but what I will tell you is there are more sinister things you can get into, and people practice that, but you have to be careful, because that kind of hoodoo voodoo will keep you caught up in a situation. And I will tell you why else this is not good to practice sex magic. Some people use fire magic for sex magic, so they light candles and do incantations and write things down to bring in manifestations. I've told this story here before, where I was painting a mural for a voodoo priestess who owned a botanica shop, and I was in her shop for a few weeks, and I got to see all the customers go in and out, and I saw the candles. And this is at the time when I was dating that Aquarian guy, and I thought I loved him so much and I wanted to be connected to him. And she said, don't do one of these candles. She said, you're of the light. She even knew my calling before I did. She said, you're of the light. You're not supposed to do one of these candles, because what happens if you do one of these candles, she said, you will bind yourself to him, and then he's going to turn vicious. Because when men or women decide, or women or men, or men and women decide they love each other so much that they want to buy one of my candles, she said, I'll let the average person do it, but I can tell that you're a practitioner in a different way, and this is not for you. She said, what will happen is the attachment will become so obsessive, Scorpionic energy here, and so crazy that it will cause things to fall away in your life, or that person will end up killing you. Scorpionic energy, death. So they will kill off your finances. They'll do an assassination of your character, or they will physically kill you. Because the man, when that candle finally burns down, will feel so connected and so entangled to you, so primally entangled to you, that he will turn to irrational, almost violent, vicious anger like a rabid dog. And anybody that's around you, he'll be jealous of or whatever. Or he could just start to hate you, and then he will start to act out violently. That's debilitated Scorpionic energy, is what she said to me. She said, Scorpio, I'll never forget it. This is years before I ever ran into that Scorpio fight that I had. And she said, don't do this. She said, if you like that guy, she said, also, she predicted for me, she said, you're not going to want him in a few years, and you'll be stuck to him, and he will be attached to you. She never lied. I did not want to be in a relationship with him in a few years, but I didn't understand it, because at the time I was infatuated, and I was like, oh my God, there's nothing better, right? But the truth was, there was a different experience that I was bringing in for me that I had to bring in for myself, you know? And I still feel adored by this person to this day. They still love me, but I had to push them away. And that meant stopping sexuality between us two in order to move on to what else I had to do. So there's a little personal message about how that energy can manifest for you. Be careful with sex magic, but also use it if you are called to, but use it with someone who you value, who values you. Okay. Also, abstaining helps you to create incredibly. We always hear boxers and athletes to not release and all of that stuff. It's very true, guys. Creative spurts happen when you are celibate. Even though it's not fun, there are places that you will have to be in order to get something done. And you can harness your sexual energy in the same way, even if you're not using it. Now, let's go into finances, and we're almost done. The eighth house deals with another kind of merging, such as finances. You discover how your partner's wealth adds to or undermines your own resources. Things like inheritance, possessions, money, or falls in this category. Taxes are symbolically the price you pay for the cost of right in life. Let's talk about that real quickly. Karmic energy, if you're dealing with a karmic that is a Scorpio or your person is, they will start to lose money and you will start to lose money, or you will not be able to grow your money and things will start to be debilitated and not grow. And I noticed that, and that's why I was like, oh, I gotta go. I got to go. But that was something that was happening in that situation for that person. She lost everything. She won't even tell me to the degree of everything she lost because she's embarrassed about it, but I knew and I know. And it affected her children, it affected her, and it affected everything. And it's still affecting it to this day. She thought it was a game. It's never a game with scorpionic energy that is debilitated. It is not a game. You will pay a cost. And that person was taking her money, which I thought was hilarious because the person that I knew was cheap AF. And I was like, she real good and she's getting your money. That was fascinating to me. So, a karmic relationship is scorpionic in nature, even if it's not a Scorpio. Someone that comes into your life that's a karmic will cause you to lose everything around you, your money, your health, your sanity, whatever. Okay. Pay attention. And the next thing is growth and healing. What's dangerously unconscious plays out in the eighth house and it can include power struggles with others. It's the sphere of emotional soul stability, and that takes courage. It comes from facing fears like getting to the bottom of control issues. The healing comes from the deep probing into the underlying currents that feed the personal demon and being liberated from it. We all have demons, and I got to meet mine when I dealt with that scorpionic energy. I was telling you, it's one of the it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the greatest experience so far of spiritual battle. I've battled many people, but this was so interesting, especially because the person wasn't bright. I was fascinated how they could cause me to do so much work because they weren't really smart. So I was like, huh, this is fascinating. I truly know my worth now. Thank you. Thank you, crazy Scorpio. All the unconscious power plus the reason too, and this is Scorpios are obsessed with destroying something. Let me back that up. Debilitated, lower vibrational, unevolved Scorpios are obsessed with quietly destroying a structure or an edifice that they think is standing in a healthy way. So she saw our connection as a healthy friendship and she thought, I want to play. Very low vibrational. She didn't care about either one of us, really. She just wanted to win, actually. So they will work at unscrewing all of the bolts quietly. That's what scorpionic energy does. It's not violent, it's not an outright attack. It is literally them working for years on unscrewing a bolt one at a time and letting it stay in place so you think everything's fine until one day, with one finger, they'll push it and everything crumbles. It's insidious. It's, I can't think of the word. It's kind of this it's really creepy. That's the word. Lower vibrational energy of Scorpio creeps me out because they will do that for years and years and years. They will plot on you, play mind games with you, and unravel you one bolt at a time. But they're leaving it intact. Everything's fine. And then it fucking crumbles. It's a tower moment, quite literally. That's what they wanted me to say. In the tarot, the tower is represented by scorpionic energy that behaves that way. One moment in something that you built and you think it's fine, and it's fucking just crumbles the next day. Like the whole thing. The twin towers come to mind, something that you think will never fall. And that's what scorpionic energy does, but it's not that direct. It's not a direct hit. What scorpionic energy would have done in the twin towers was unravel every bolt for 20 years until one day the whole structure disappears. Wow. It was powerful to watch happening. And if it happens to you, that's what lower vibrational Scorpion energy will do. That's why I say if the karmic is a Scorpio, walk away, because they've been at your partner longer than you'll ever realize, fucking with their mind, playing games, all the rest of it, and then your partner's turning on you. You don't understand why, and it's because that Scorpionic energy is there because it's a power play. They're not playing games with your partner; they're playing games with you. They're trying to usurp your power and try to get the best of you and try to get under your skin. And if you let them win, you fight them. And then they win because they're like, what is she? Why are they attacking me when they have been sending negative energy your way, toxic energy your way, and all the rest of it for a long time? So that's why it's hard to define when you're in a battle like that. And you will have to walk away from your own control issues. I have control issues, and in that moment I had to learn about my control issues and the fact that I could, because I knew I was right. That's the hardest part. If you know that your prediction is right, I know who I am. So that wasn't just about like, I guess this is going to happen. Guys, I make a living because of my accuracy. I'm good, and I say that about myself because it's the truth, but it's proven and tested by my reviews and by my interactions. I get to the bottom of people's things. I am a detective spiritually. And so I knew what was going to happen. But they said, are you going to walk away from wanting to control it? You don't get to control this. Let them fight with their control issues because they're low vibrational. We'll never figure it out, but you will figure it out because this is not what you're called to do. So understand that Scorpionic battles will bring out the control issues in you. Certainly did for me. The occult. This house is associated with the occult, which is the eighth house of Scorpio, which means what it means. And it means that things are hidden. This also is things like dark psychology, crime, bad karma, dirty tricks, revenge, jealousy, and control. It is a house of the shadow's power and the transformation of that deep complexity and at the bedrock of your character. We all have that. My empaths listening and my light workers listening, this part is the most important part. We all have a deeper connection to the occult, as it is called. And that is not the occult in the word, but it is the deep complexities at the bedrock of our character, the karmic shadow power, revenge, jealousy, dirty tricks, dark psychology, crime, bad karma. Y'all, how many of us are obsessed with watching Snap and the Oxygen channel and the ID channel? That's Scorpionic energy. So if you're like, that's not me, I'm a light and lover. No, mommy. You just like the rest of us. We all are fascinated. What do we talk about that show, Joe, with the serial killer? He was someone we all wanted to know sexually, actually, maybe, even though we knew he killed people. We knew how it ended. What about the Manson people that are still in jail to this day? They were enthralled by the sexual energy of that Scorpionic energy. Do not think you are above this. To think you are above this is to be tricked. And that's what I watched that Sagittarius walk into. She thought she was better than what she was getting into. She didn't understand that death became her. You know that movie from the 80s, Death Becomes Me, starring Meryl Streep, iconic. But Death Becomes Me, death became her. I watched her soul get hollowed out day by day as that Scorpionic energy unscrewed every bolt and bracket in her life and told her she was fine until she pushed her down and said, now you're mine. That Scorpionic energy, obsession, possession, and control. She dismantled all of the safe holds around her life so she had no one but her and could pull her back in every time she wanted to. And I didn't care after a while. I was like, do you, boo? But I watched it because I was getting my own masterclass in bullshit. It was interesting to see. But this is the truth. All of this is part of you and it's part of me. Dark psychology, crime, bad karma, dirty tricks, revenge, jealousy, and control. In the moment when that Sagittarius was trying me the most, I found myself at the lowest, darkest parts of my personality. The last time I was around her, the last time I was in her house, the devil's funny. The devil will have these agents, these demonic agents come to you, and it will test the bedrock of your character, like I just said. I could have easily succumbed to being one of those episodes of Snapped. I could have easily succumbed to wanting to fight back because I was being bullied in a weird way that was hard to like convey and all of the rest of that. I could have easily succumbed to revenge tactics, wreaking havoc on their lives. I could have called their jobs. I could have called their husbands and their other wives. I could have, I could have done it all. And I did know how to do it all. I could have pulled up next to one of the husband's trucks. There is so much that I could do. But I decided that I didn't want to be another episode for you all to watch. And my angel said, we have better plans for you. But that does not mean I did not think those things. And that does not mean that I didn't understand what my revenge and my wrath of being betrayed could bring. It was a test of my character. And in there, I got to revel in the lowest part of myself, in my shadow side. I have people on here that write me all the time, talk about the shadow side. I'm talking about it now. Maybe I'll put it in the title. This was a deep dive into my darkness to understand how I could retaliate, how I could be emotionally unstable, how I could be physically unstable, how I could be menacing over a long period of time and exact a revenge that was so hard to see and define that it would cause their heads to spin. I was tempted to sin. And that is the power of low vibrational scorpionic energy. I was in the dirt with them. And my angel said, ascend, ascend, ascend. I even had my father come through who lived in lower vibrational scorpionic energy and instructed me exactly what to do with quick messages. It wasn't that he was just saying, get out and I'll save you. But even though he's crossed over, we evolve, but sometimes we still are who we are. My dad would have handled that situation completely differently. And in order for me to evolve and ascend and to really die the death to that part of my soul, I had to act differently. I couldn't do what he would do. I couldn't behave how he had behaved and how I saw him behave. They said, yeah, this is happening to you, but this will not be where you enter the grave. Because these women are vicious and addicted and crazy. And they are they're enmeshed primal bond of the lowest of scorpionic energy. And they would love to see you fail. But the God in me prevailed. That occult empath is part of our soul. The dark side is something that you will have to come to peace with, and it will something you will have to get to know, because to do real light work means to acknowledge that there is in fact darkness. It's funny in the last few years how that's matriculated in and how I've been called to help people with blockings and protections and all the stuff that I never thought I would do. I thought it would only be light and love that I preached to you, but to be a balanced practitioner, I had to understand that things go bump in the night, that people will take delight in schadenfreude in your pain, and that there are really white walkers that roam the earth that are insane. Message. Let's carry on. In conclusion, get to know the depths of your soul. Get to know the way that other people control you, because I was being trolled by trolls. Get to know that scorpionic energy is part of you. Check out your chart and see specifically where it falls. And the overarching lesson here is that deaths happen to make us better and to cause ultimate transformation. If you find yourself being too clingy to something, then examine that situation. It may be something that needs to evolve or pass away. If you find yourself wanting to do power plays, you're dealing with scorpionic energy. If someone is doing power plays with you and it's unprovoked, they're operating out of lower vibrational scorpionic energy. These are things that you need to know for your survival empath, because we are often attacked. And because we live in so much light, we don't even protect our back. We don't even know why it's happening. And we're like, what did I do? I've just been nothing but nice to you. That was me in the beginning with my naivety. Now I understand what kind of vicious, vermicious canids I was dealing with. Shout out to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Now I know what kind of vermicious canids I was dealing with. These fucking soul suckers and demons, these husk walkers. Yes, I have no compunction to say these things about these alleged people, because they were literally downloaded with demonic codes in order to try to destroy me. That was their job, actually. And I made another video about it. It's the best job they ever had. And it's the last thing that will be fun. The rest of their life is down bad, is complaining, is sadness, is poverty. That's what they wanted. That's scorpionic energy in its lowest vibration. Other people's money, not for them anymore. Unless they want to forever live as the town horde. That's up to them. I'm out the game. I have no more skin in that game, because staying connected to a lower vibrational scorpionic energy will drive you insane. You cannot stay there. No matter what they said about me, I was able to see them and set myself free. Now I can do a TED talk about it and set other people free. That's how I channel that 8th house energy of obsession scorpionically. You get it? So instead of just being like worried about these 2 people for the rest of my life, I'm worried about the rest of the world and how to help you. That's what good evolved scorpionicity will do. It will take you into a place where you can be good or great for the masses instead of just being in a primal entanglement where you lose everything from your dignity to your lashes. Okay? Divest, pull away, but understand that there is great power in that scorpionic energy if we turn it into the sun and let the light on its face. Then you can live under goodness and grace. But understand that even if you are not ready for day, I'll reverse the saying, sometimes it is night. That's how scorpionic energy is most used beneficially in your life. To understand that sometimes it is night and things are dark and things crawl in the dark and there are illusions and boogeymen and there are things you never want to battle or wrestle with again. There is nighttime paralysis. There are dreams and nightmares. There are demons. There are our darkest, deepest fears. It's our primal sexuality. It's the things we thought we'd never be. It's obsession. It's thievery. It's jealousy. It's revenge. It is part of our human condition. You do not get to be a light worker without knowing what kind of dark you have been in. And that is the lowest of scorpionic energies, my friend. And no matter whether you like it or not, it is part of all of us. And to understand our duality is to be able to evolve through it, to be a better you and a better me. And now, let's get to it. Come back and join me next time, and we will continue to. Oh, wow. I have comments. I didn't think anybody would be up at this crazy hour. Let me go back and read. My God. Oh, my goodness. Wow, wow, wow. Let me get situated here. I was going to say come back and join me next time and we'll continue to evolve together. I guess I'll say it again, but let me go ahead and read what is said here. Empress Energy says, I had a friend who was a Scorpio, a horrible friend. Girl, I don't envy you. You know, in their highest vibration, Scorpio energy is the one that you want to go on a diet with. They're the ones that are very disciplined. They know how to lose weight and they know how to diet and they know how to do it very well. Sorry, guys. So that's about it that I can say for Scorpio friends, because I don't have too many now. Excuse me. Now I do have Scorpionic energy and friends in my life, so I have a different look on them. But before this, I literally ran from Scorpios. I had Scorpio bosses that tortured me. I had other Scorpio friends that stole other besties. Like, it's every time I've dealt with a Scorpio, it's been a freaking disaster. And this time they said, you're not running anymore. You're going to face her and you're going to vanquish her. You will turn her life to dust. You will turn her well-oiled machines into rust, and you will stick up for yourself. And I did. So, Kesala, hi Monette, sending you peace and well wishes, and that you're feeling well. Thank you, Kesala. Kesala says, yes, I had a parent who's a Scorpio and an ex-lover who's a Scorpio and a former supervisor. When a Scorpio is in lower vibrational, it's a very traumatic experience. I'm still recovering. It is so true. It is so true, guys. Hold on, I gotta plug up real quick. My angels were like, you're supposed to be done, but I'm not. Hold on. All right. Let's see here. When they are low vibrational, control and manipulation is their main objective, Kesala says, by any means necessary. I have also learned that they don't really know themselves. It's all about the image. Girl, that is so true. That person had no self-esteem. She didn't know who the hell she was, and she was so perplexed. How do you know who you are? How did you figure this out without someone telling you? Because her husband dictated to her who she was, and society dictated to her who she was, and the demons in her head dictated to her who she was. She had no clue who she was. And, I was like, girl, it's so funny. I'm thinking of Aladdin. You ain't never had a friend like me. I was the first real friend she had that was starting to help her understand her psychology, which is so funny because she was watching me through YouTube and listening to stories and trying to destroy the friendship that I did have through allegories that the other Prakalisha and demon was telling her. So she was trying to, I was the best friend she ever had, which is so funny because they thought they was in love. And I was like, girl, y'all know what's really happening here? She had no idea who she was. But that was so funny to me. Quesala says, of being seen as good in the eyes of others, but behind closed doors is a different story. Yeah, she was a whole demon. I was like, it's so funny. She worked at a place where they like would fire people if their skirt was not the right length because they were very Christian in Alabama. And I was like, do you know that you have the devil and the devil's mistress sitting at your desk? Like, you guys are worried about someone's knee length on their skirt. And these two are polyamorous, cheating, drug addicted, scamming, probably stealing the social security numbers from the people that you guys call your patients. Like, it was a real situation. They are lying, hoeing, thieving, drinking, fighting, cussing, sucking people. Meanwhile, someone gets fired because her skirt is 1 inch above her knee. They were really projecting that they were the best of society, but they were terrible parents, terrible people, all of that, everything. Okay, it was really funny for me. They are very obsessive. It's very scary. I can tell the stories of my former supervisor. If they feel threatened by you or shine a light in their darkness, they will not let up until they win. It is so true. I had a supervisor who was a Scorpio, and I told her, you should be a cult leader, because I had been in a cult. I didn't tell her that, but she was a fucking horrible person who literally would set out to destroy everybody, literally practice black magic in the office, quite literally did spell work. She was a witch, and she would practice it and go around to everybody's desk, and she would move people. She's like, it's like moving my chess pieces. She was one of the worst people I knew. Now I see how weak and debilitated she is, but I remember feeling under the thrall of her and being like, how do I pull away? And she hated my light, and she competed with me, which is so funny because people really liked me in the office. Guys, I was not a great corporate America worker, but my energy was my energy. So I came in, I pimped people's cubicles out, I did all kinds of things, and people loved me. I did the office potlucks and all that stuff, and she did not like that energy and was a hater. To this day, I still hear the people like, she checks your Facebook still? This bitch. Anyway, Scorpionic bosses are the worst. Quesala says, yes, self-esteem issues. A former supervisor couldn't understand how I was able to teach children and connect with their families without doing all the dramatics of being seen. She couldn't fathom the power I had, the power I didn't try to obtain. That is such a good point. That is precisely what I realized in my situation. To this day, if that Sagittarius person was alive and hadn't killed herself with all of her craziness, and I don't mean actual suicide, but she did commit a sense of suicide. But what I will say is that the Scorpionic energy doesn't understand why she still thinks about me, why she still cares, why is she still why when we were in each other's life, she couldn't fathom it. She was like, I wasn't trying. And there was a point where I literally disconnected and was like, I hate you forever. Don't you ever come, I was in a more toxic and, angry, vitriolic space. But I remember feeling like, girl, you could literally show up in my face right now and I wouldn't put you out if you were on fire. I don't care about you for the way that you did me. And I felt such a way. And I know that Scorpionic energy couldn't fathom, while that person, that Sagittarius, still thought about me. How come you still like her? She's been horrible. I made her be all the things that I always hoped that she would be. And now she's turned her back on you and you still fantasize about her like you do. Yeah, because they can't fathom the power that you have. I didn't try to have it. It just is what we naturally exude. What's interesting is, after being raised by a Scorpio and having 4th house in Scorpio and in Pluto, I know how they work. I caught a former supervisor driving near my apartment several months after I left working there. Didn't I tell you? My former supervisor still does Facebook drive-by. She's crazy. They are primal. There is no logical thinking. Maxwell Ward said, just subscribed, first time in your life. Hey, Maxwell, thank you. Awesome. Glad you could join us. Just Siri says, hey, it's 3 a.m. here, so I have to go back to bed, but I saw you wanted to say hi. Hi, Jess. I love you. Hey, Casella. Hi, Maxwell, she says, and Empress Energy. They all say hello and good night. Jess says, my narc ex-bestie was a Virgo and had a Scorpio flying monkey. Ooh, that's the worst, Jess. It did not work out for any of us. LOL. My mom is a sweet Scorpio. And Casella says, hi, Jess. Don't we love sweet Scorpios? Guys, what a lovely discourse. Thank you for adding your opinions. There are sweet Scorpios. There are lovely humans. And I'm so grateful to have gotten to finally do battle. That's a funny thing. Now that I've done battle, I'm on to another sign that I'm working through. It's not Scorpionic energy at all, but we never stop growing. But I had to finally face the worst of them in order to get to the best of them. It couldn't have happened for me in a better way. But Scorpio energy does not play fair when they're in a lower vibrational space and in a lower vibrational atmosphere. In high vibration, they're sweet family members. They're loyal, they're thoughtful, and they will help you no matter what, and they will protect you, and it's incredible. lower vibration. They don't care about their children. They don't care about themselves. They don't care about their health. They care about the drugs. They care about the sex. They care about other people's money. They are obsessed. They're weird. They're not faithful. I could go on, guys. I'm not bashing them. I'm just telling you that there is always dark and there is always light. And you have to know what you're dealing with, and don't pull the wool over your eyes and fool yourself. I knew what I was dealing with, and so I divested. I didn't stick around to play and fight and to get into the thick of it and to be the best friend that would always win. Why? The person didn't want me there. They were primarily entangled with someone else who didn't give a fucking care. She just wanted to win. And she did. And I imagine when she did, it wasn't as interesting. But that was the karma for the Sagittarius to reap, because a friendship that was worthwhile, she refused to keep. In fact, she discarded it, actually, and then tried to gaslight me. Welcome to the underworld of Scorpionic energy. It was a nice visit. Don't think I will sit a spell. They can cast spells on each other while I move on to do well, and I speak the same over you. If you ever have to find out what that lower vibrational Scorpionic energy do, I recommend you take in a Bible. You take in some salt. You take in some Florida water. You take in every protection you can think of. You Palo Santo, you sage, you get your crystals. But do not really engage, because you will lose yourself for a while. And maybe that might be your lesson. Lost and found. But if you really want to get lost, then get down with that lower vibrational Scorpio, because they will pull you down, 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 the undertow. And that's where you'll drown. My empath and my light worker, I got goosebumps on the top of my head when I said that somebody here is doing battle with a Scorpionic energy. Maybe they're casting evil eye. Maybe they're wishing you not well. Maybe they're hoping that you die. Maybe they're hoping that you're not healthy. I hit that reversal on them. Send that energy back to them. Let them feel and revel in what that lower vibrational Scorpionic energy do, and what it is to touch someone who is chosen and special like you. I rebuke it. In the name of Jesus, I rebuke it. In the name of all things pure and holy, we hit the reversal ×3. You want a bamba? You want a G with the big boys? I'm the kitty kitty that says not today, Satan. Quiet down the noise. Move on with your life, empath. I've got you. You're protected. But beyond that, your ancestors and your angels have got you. You're under a holy protection. No weapon formed against you will prosper. Not even a poisoned sword from a lower vibrational Scorpio that never read the word or understands the voices in their head that they hear. They just want to come near because they're curious about the light. But if they get near to the light, they want you just not to be as bright. They will dim you. Understand the power in you. It is not given to those who cannot see your value. It is meant for those who honor your light, who want you to shine bright. And a Scorpio in lower vibrational energy is terrified of that sight. A bright, shining empath, a healthy, divine feminine, a powerful light worker. They want to cut you off at the ankles again and again. And I say once more, hit the reversal on them. Send that energy back. Return to sender. They were only a foe and never a friend. Come back and join me next time, guys, and we will continue to evolve together.